Well, hello again, and I want to talk a little bit about cellular organelles, but the reality is I just want to talk about a couple of things because you can go to the internet and you can look at lots of animations and um, and and pictures of cellular organelles, and you've got good reference material in your book also. So I'm not going to belabor that, but I want to do a couple of things. First, I will post links also with this video so that you'll be able to get to the links of the pages that I'm going to show you. First of all, uh, if you'll remember, I gave you a link to the virtual cell animation collection, and you can go to that and fly through the cell with this video. And it's pretty good. There are others that are very good also. So help yourself to the internet and take a look at all the different cellular organelles. I want to talk specifically about two things. Basically mitochondrial DNA and or mitochondria and chloroplast DNA. Okay. Now, according to the endosymbiotic theory, it is thought that mitochondria and chloroplasts in plants, and mitochondria, of course, are in the cells of plants and in animals, that these were originally bacteria that were free living, okay? And they evolutionarily developed a symbiotic relationship inside other cells and then lost their free living status and evolved to be cellular organelles. The evidence for that is their shape and anatomy, which appears to be like certain bacteria, and also the fact that they have circular DNA, which is a bacterial type DNA. They have their own DNA. Now, the interesting thing is that if you have mitochondria, you have mitochondria in every one of your cells, and an individual cell can have as many as 1,000,000 mitochondria in it. That's where you get your energy from. That's what they do. They produce ATP. That's where all of your energy storage is produced for the most part, and that's what they do for you. Chloroplasts, on the other hand, for plants, capture light and start to develop, use high oxygen and water to develop sugar, to make sugar using sunlight. So that's what they do. So two different organisms evolved to be symbiotic within other cells. So what's really interesting about mitochondrial DNA? Well, first of all, for humans and most animals, mitochondrial DNA that we have in our bodies comes only from our mother, because the mitochondria in sperm is in the tail and is pretty much destroyed after fertilization by the egg. So evolutionary biologists are using mitochondrial DNA to trace the lineage of people back to the area of the world that their ancestors came from. It's pretty interesting stuff, and you can find a lot about it on the internet and read about it if you're interested to go that far. The other thing that's interesting is that there are a lot of diseases, and I'll leave that for you to look up, but if you look up mitochondrial disease or diseases caused by defects in mitochondrial DNA, you'll find a page-long listing of those diseases, and some of those diseases are the diseases you've heard of before and are somewhat familiar with the names. And others we probably have never heard of, but they are diseases, and they are caused by a defect in the mitochondrial DNA. Now, there's an interesting thing. Let's just review this real quickly, okay? Mitochondrial DNA is the DNA located in mitochondria, cellular organelles within eukaryotic cells that convert chemical energy from food into a form that cells can use, ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Okay? The origin nuclear, which is your DNA that you get from your parents, and mitochondrial DNA that you get only from your mother, are thought to be of separate evolutionary origin, with the mitochondrial DNA being derived from the circular genomes of the bacteria that were engulfed by the early ancestors of today's eukaryotic cells. So eukaryotic is simply the term that means has a true nucleus. Bacteria do not have a true nucleus. They have what is known as circular DNA that is simply in their cytoplasm, and those are called prokaryotes. Okay. In sexual reproduction, mitochondria are normally inherited exclusively from the mother. The mitochondria in mammalian sperm are usually destroyed by the egg cell after fertilization. Also, most mitochondria are present at the base of the sperm's tail, which is used for propelling the sperm cells. Sometimes the tail is lost during fertilization. In 1999, it was reported that paternal sperm mitochondria containing mtDNA are marked with ubiquitin to select them for later destruction inside the embryo. Some in vitro fertilization techniques, particularly injecting a sperm into an oocyte, might interfere with this. So there may be some exceptions. Okay, so now let's suppose you are a person, a woman, who carries a defect in your mitochondrial DNA such that you know that any child you have is going to have the disease. Well, I'm going to give you another link to a morning edition NPR day, November 10th, 2014, morning edition NPR. And this is the way it comes up. Here's the show. And the one you want to look at is combining the DNA of 3 people raises ethical questions. Now, it's pretty interesting because when this story was produced, what was being explained was that what doctors can now do and what was going to be allowed and has probably already been done in England for the first time with a human is we have a couple who want to have children and they want to have normal children. But they can't because the mother carries a defect in her mitochondrial DNA. So what are they going to do? They're going to take her egg. They're going to take her egg and they're going to take the nucleus out of her egg, fertilized egg. So the fertilized egg from her husband and herself will have the normal complement of DNA. That nucleus does not have mitochondrial DNA in it. Okay? Then they're going to take the egg from a woman who will be a donor. She will donate her egg. They will take the nucleus out of her egg and replace it with the nucleus from this couple. They will then take that fertilized egg with mitochondrial DNA intact from a different woman and implant that back into the woman so she can have a normal child. I don't know how well it's going. There may be some updates on the internet on that. But we've done it with animals, and this is the first time it was going to be tried with people. And it's a way to cure, it's illegal in the United States, but it's a way to cure or prevent a child from having a mitochondrial disease. And I'm sure that it worked, because it has with animals. Pretty interesting stuff. So in effect, this child will have DNA from its mother and its father, the normal DNA in the nucleus, but it will also have mitochondrial DNA from another woman. And so that child will have, in a way, have 3 parents. But the authority in England who was being interviewed and indicated that she would approve this procedure made an analogy. And she said, you know, we're not playing God. We're not screwing around with their DNA, and We're not designing babies. What we're doing is changing the battery. Remember, mitochondria produces the energy in your cells, and if your energy isn't being produced properly, then you won't function properly. So basically, this administrator, who I thought was very good, is saying we're just changing the batteries. That's all we're doing, and it's a good deal. So anyway, so all you have to do to listen is you'll find this link, and then there you go. You can open that up.
From the latest newscast to the newest podcast, NPR One handpicks local, national, and international stories based on what you like. Download the NPR One app, a new way to experience public radio.
Today in Your Health, we report on a controversial transplant of DNA. The question is whether scientists should be allowed to move DNA from one woman to an egg of another woman.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it for you. I'll give you the link. I'll give you the link and I'll let you look it up. I think you'll find it pretty fascinating. Sure will. And then you can look up mitochondrial diseases and see Tay-Sachs and the others, and maybe you're familiar with some of them. Anyway, if you feel like making comments in the discussion, go right ahead. Okay, thanks. We're going to stop this and have an interesting time learning about this stuff.